I'm Marsha Gensler-Stevens. Normally, we spend Mondays in the stand, but it's actually Sunday night, right before Thanksgiving week. And I know for some of us, we aren't going to be spending Thanksgiving with the people we normally have our holiday with. Maybe we aren't going home to grandma's. Maybe you're choosing to spend the rest of the semester on campus so that you can finish up in person. So I decided we needed to celebrate the holidays. I won't be able to see my 89-year-old parents in Chicago either. So I'm using one of my mother's recipes, Pumpkin Crunch by Marianne. Marianne, that's my mom. Anyhow, it's very popular in the family, but it's also incredibly popular in the stand. Every cook-off, Marianne's Pumpkin Crunch comes up. I used to serve tea every Thursday. Pumpkin Crunch, very popular. One of our grad students, when he finished his master's degree, he didn't want anything else for graduation. He just wanted Pumpkin Crunch. So today we're going to make Pumpkin Crunch together. I promise I'll give you the recipe too. It is so simple, you're going to just be in awe. But then we're going to taste it at the end. I'm only sorry I don't have pieces for all of you to taste. But if you make it, you can taste it. So it's a really simple recipe, my friends. Here's where we start. We start with a delicious bunch of pumpkin. Now, you can buy it anywhere. Grocery store, Target, you name it. This 100% pumpkin. It's good for you. It's good for your dog. That breathing you hear on the other side is my golden retriever, Abraham Lincoln. And he likes to cook too. I tried to get him to leave the kitchen while we did this, but he needed to be present. So I start with that can of pumpkin. I'm giving it a good old get it out of the can kind of thing. Now, this, my friends, is a little bit of evaporated milk. You don't even have to have a refrigerator to make this. So far, all's good. So then we're going to add something delicious to this as well. We are going to add a whole lot of sugar. That's right, my friends, 1.25 cups of sugar. Now, if for some reason you're trying to cut sugar out of your diet, this is not the recipe for any of us. So I'm going to just pour that on in there. Now you're thinking, woo, that's a lot of sugar. You're right. It's the holidays. In addition to all of that, we have 3 eggs right here. And we're going to just drop those on in there. 3 large eggs. That you can get really easily any number of places. Now, I've got my favorite here, the whisk. I'm going to bring this all to, oh dear Lord, don't worry if you're a messy cook. I like being a bit messy. Sometimes I think the best things we learn from mistakes. So I'm whisking this all up together. You saw how easy that went in together. That was just a bunch of pumpkin and sugar and all other kinds of cool stuff. Now, I'm going to add just a little bit more. I'm going to add just a half teaspoon of salt. That's what that is right there. It's going to add just a little bit of spice in life. And I'm going to add a teaspoon of cinnamon. That smells like the holidays for sure. You know how they always make pumpkin kind of deliciously spicy for a pumpkin pie? Well, this, believe it or not, is the bottom of our pumpkin recipe. And we'll check it out to make sure we got it all right. We've got pumpkin. We've got evaporated milk. You can make that regular or low cal, but after that 1.5 cups of sugar you put in there, you just might as well go the whole way. And then we've got cinnamon, we've got salt, right? And our 3 eggs that we put in there. And we've mixed that all up and it is ready to go. Now, hold tight. I'm gonna get something here. We're gonna make this in a pan like this. Now you might have a bigger one or a slightly smaller one. We're going to make this in this pan. Now, I sprayed a little something in the bottom to keep it from sticking. I'm going to take what we just mixed up, pour it into our pan, right? Delicious, delicious. I've got my little spatula over here. See, I told you, being messy is a good thing. Delicious. Okay, got it all, got it all. I don't know about you, but this smells a lot like Christmas. And it smells a lot like Thanksgiving. It's got all the deliciousness and whatever other holidays you love pumpkin for would be delightful. All right, now you're thinking, well, that looks a little bit boring. Here's where you get the little Midwest. I'm originally from Chicago. Now, a lot of people would make a really fancy crust for this, but my mom made up this recipe and other people have copied it. This is a box of yellow cake mix, just dry yellow cake mix. Don't do anything with it. And I'm going to add to that yellow cake mix right here more than the recipe calls for. This is coarsely ground pecans, nuts. And I'm going to put that right in that yellow cake mix. Now you're thinking, holy cow, it really doesn't call for this many pecans. But I think the more, the merrier. So I'm going to mix up that yellow cake mix with the delightful pecans, right? It's dry cake mix and it's pecans. And now, you remember that beautiful pumpkin creation? Don't go crazy. You're not smoothing it in. You're putting it on top dry and you're thinking, holy cow, Marsha, this looks kind of gross. It's not going to be gross when you eat it. I'm not kidding you. That grad student, he was from India and he spoke English much more with a British sort of nuance. And when he was graduating, he said, I'm going to need you to bake me a celebratory pumpkin cracker, which is a nice way in British English of saying crunch. So that's what we had. This seems somewhat seasonal, but we had it in May when he finished. So now you're thinking, that looks a little odd. It's a little bit on the dry side. Yeah, it would be if you didn't do what I'm about to do. But given that you saw that it had that 1.5 cups of sugar, and it has all these delicious pecans, and it has all this fabulous cake mix on top, hold tight. I'm running to the microwave because we're going to put something special on top of that. You are going to be in awe of what we're about to put on top. So you're going to put a whole cup of butter that's been melted on top. That's what's going to make the top of our crunch so crunchy delicious as it bakes, right? It's going to make it golden. So we're actually putting the liquid on the top. And that, again, you're going to want to get it everywhere because you don't want to end up with a bunch of, shall we say, dry that hasn't been baked through the butter, all that kind of deliciousness. This is the kind of stuff that'll knock your socks off because it's incredibly impressive. You can say you made it. You saw how fast that took us to make it. Boom, boom, we were done. I think you might be able to make it in a residence hall room as long as you have an oven down the hall. And again, this is just a cup of melted butter, which I have put on top of there. And I've tried to make sure I've covered all of my territory there where we had dryness, right? Now, if that's not enough pecans for you, sometimes I'll take some whole pecans just to make it super special fancy because all the rest of them were, sort of purposefully broken. And I'll put some whole pecans on top because, it's not good if you don't do it all. That's right. Now we're going to take our whole little bunch of stuff and put this in the oven. Now I set the oven, I preheated the oven to 350 and it's going to bake for almost an hour. So just about 50 to 55 minutes. So I'm going to put it in the oven now. And here we go. Try not to take a tumble with this mix because it was really disgusting on the floor. I'm going to set my timer for 50 minutes. Boom. We'll be back when it comes out of the oven. And I promise you, I'll cut you a piece of delicious pumpkin crunch in a minute and we'll celebrate together. Well, we took it out of the oven, that pumpkin crunch. Remember, it was just ready to be made into something golden delicious and it's still warm. And I'm going to get a little piece for you. And while we're doing that, I want you to think a little bit about what you're thankful for, because the best part about Thanksgiving is you got to be thankful. And one of the things that I would say is there's nothing better than to think a little bit about how thankful we are for all kinds of things, including the fact that we've made it this far through school with folks healing and or healthy. I'm going to put some whipped cream on that because, there's something fabulous about whipped cream on top of pumpkin. And look at that, my friends. It's Pumpkin Crunch. Happy Thanksgiving, friends. I'm very grateful for my colleagues and friends in the stamp, for students, for the opportunity to be with you on Mondays. Have a wonderful holiday.